I'm trying to dig a hole for my mulberry tree, which I've grown in a pot for the past couple of years. But it's really hard. I think I underestimated how difficult digging a big hole is. So for me, I don't know how other people do it, because it seems that people can just dig a hole, like a really deep hole, with a spade, but I can't do that. Once it gets past a certain depth, which is just over a spade's depth, I can't really get in there with the spade and lift the mud out. So I think it's going to be a hands and knees jobby. So I'm going to go and get myself some hand tools and like a small bucket to scoop the mud in and then pour it out. Actually, before I do that, I should probably get the tree. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'll take you with me. Come, let's have a look. So here it is. It's a little bit difficult to see it now because it's dropped its leaves and the building behind is kind of the same colourish. But the pot's quite big, so what I want to do is I want to tip it out of this pot, get rid of all this couch grass on the top, and maybe clean the root ball a little bit, get rid of the compost that's around it. And then I'm going to stick it in the wheelbarrow and take it around there. Then I'll have a better idea of how big the hole, or how deep the hole needs to be. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. It's not, I mean, it is a little bit pot bound there, but I was hoping it wasn't worse, and it isn't worse. So I'm going to tease all of this out, get the stuff off the top, and then stick it in the wheelbarrow. All right, that took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. I had to completely decimate the roots, remove all the compost. Basically because I realised when I was taking, the grass off the top, that there was horseradish growing in it. So this pile of white roots here, hang on, let me get it. So that's horseradish, and I really did not want to introduce that to open ground because it spreads and then it's impossible to get rid of. Now, I do grow horseradish for herbal remedies. It's good in like an oil that helps to ease aches and pains, but I grow it in a pot, so I don't know how that was introduced to this pot. But it was right next to my pot of horseradish at the allotment, so maybe, I don't know what happened, but anyway. So yeah, I'm really worried about this now, because the roots have been completely traumatized, but I'm hoping that what I've done is no different to what happens to the roots what happens to trees when they're sold as bare root trees. So I'm going to take this over there and plant it up, and let's just hope for the best. I've got some mycorrhizal fungi to put in the hole to help the roots. So yeah, that's really the best I can do, other than pray that she's all right. On the plus side, she's not going to be that heavy to carry over there, is she? Okay, I'm thinking I probably won't actually have to dig this hole any further. Let's have a quick look. Yeah. So I'm going to put some mud into the middle and then drape the roots over it. Let me take one of these bits with the grass. Okay, I think that should do it. I'm going to sprinkle some of this mycorrhizal fungi. Don't actually know how much you're supposed to use. So let's just say good sprinkling. That should do the trick. I just spread the roots out nicely. Just going to try and work the earth in to the roots so that there's no air pockets. Oh, there you go, little worm. Cover you up. There you are. Okay. I think this is as good as I'm going to get it. So in case you're wondering why I've planted on a little bit of a mound so that the water's running away from the tree rather than in a little ditch, it's because I read in Monty Don's book recently that when you plant trees, they develop a stronger root system if they're planted slightly higher rather than slightly lower. Because the tendency, isn't it, is to plant it in a little bit of a ditch so that when you water it, the water will just collect there. But yeah, I've not done that. I'm just going to go and get some boxes while that soaks in. Thankfully, we're not short of a box or two considering we've just moved. All right, so I've done as much as I'm going to do today. I do need to bring some more so that I can really cover all those edges. But to be honest, I'm done for the day. I'm really knackered. I was trying to sort out the veg patch this morning, so I was putting well, I'll show you tomorrow actually. But yeah, I'm tired. I'm going to go inside. I don't even know what the time is because I haven't got my watch on. But it is starting to get a little bit dark, so I'm going to go in and see if Vijay's got the dinner started, because I'm getting a bit peckish. I just want to, and you just want to veg out. It is Sunday today, and I didn't want to do anything. But I had the whole day off yesterday because I had my women's circle, so yeah, I didn't do any work outside yesterday. So yeah. I'm very glad I've got that mulberry tree planted up because I've been wanting to do that for a while. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for that little tree. And hoping in a few years' time I'll have gorgeous mulberries to pick. I never knew what a mulberry tree was, and I never had mulberries, like fresh mulberries, until I went to Hungary. When was it? No, Greece. A couple of years ago I went to Greece with... The reason why I thought Hungary is because I went with a Hungarian friend. So yeah, it was last year. And I tasted mulberries there. Oh my God, they were so delicious. And I remember being at my allotment once and someone coming and having a chat and saying that they had found this mulberry tree. Or they had gone walking somewhere, found a mulberry tree, and they were picking the mulberries and the juice was dripping down their arms. And I was like, oh, what kind of berries are these that, you pick them and eat your fill right at the tree and the juice is dripping everywhere. So yeah, I mean, that's why you can't get mulberries in the shops because they really don't transport very well. You have to kind of eat them straight away. But anyway, I'll stop waffling. I'll see you tomorrow. I realised when I was in bed last night that I had forgotten the horseradish stuff out here, and I really wanted to pot this up. I'm hoping it didn't get too cold last night. I wanted to pot some of these roots up so that I'd have more plants basically for next year. So let's take all that into the greenhouse. Now, when we go into the greenhouse, Yolon, if you're watching this, you might be thinking, I thought you tidied that greenhouse up. I did. But the trouble is, I have real problems keeping things tidy. And we brought more stuff from the shed in the other house. We're almost finished bringing stuff over, but there's a few bits and pieces left. So, one of the things I also want to do is repot this, well, both of these that I bought a couple of weeks ago, because this keeps drying out really quickly. The ends are dying off. And it doesn't seem to hold any moisture, and I'm wondering if maybe it's pot bound. So if there's too much root for the pots, then it's not going to hold moisture very well, is it? So yeah, I'm going to separate these out, put them in separate pots and see if that does the trick. I'm also going to repot this to see what that root system is like, because I'm not going to plant it until I've decided where to put it. All right, I checked this little beauty and she's actually all right in that pot. So I just put a sort of centimetre layer of compost in the bottom and popped her back in. But this one, the eucalyptus, yeah, I'm glad I'm taking that out because it really could do with a new pot. So I'm going to separate the two plants out and then I'm going to pot them up. So the horseradish, poor horseradish, getting a rough deal. So what I've done, I had this bag of compost that was already here in the greenhouse when we moved in, and it had completely dried out. But because horseradish is as tough as old boots, I'm very unsympathetic towards it. So I'm not babying it. I've just put it in this dried compost, and I poured a whole sort of a 2 litre bottle of water over the top, and that's now sunk through. But I've put it in a basin there so that the water can then reabsorb into the compost, because the problem is, as I'm sure all you gardeners know, once compost dries out, it is extremely difficult to rehydrate it. So I'm just going to leave it sitting in there for a day or two, in the hopes that it will rehydrate. If it doesn't, then I'll pot it in proper compost rather than this dried out stuff. But I think this should be fine. And I'm going to have to find a place. So Ali, is your channel called My Rusty Garden, Ali? Has said that this should really go inside in the winter. So I'm going to have to find a space to put this inside. I mean, we're not that cold yet, so I'll probably wait until next month. But yeah, and then, oh, look at these. So these are some little buddleias that were growing in the gravel, you know, on our drive. So I've potted these two up. And then there are these two little things. And I have no idea what they are, well, 3 of them. But I potted them up anyway, because I thought, oh, they all look interesting, more like a shrub than like an annual or a perennial weed. So yeah, we'll see what, when they get a bit bigger, maybe I can use a plant identification app to see what they are. And then these do seem to be doing well. I don't know if you remember a few videos ago, I pulled these up from the base of a cotoneaster that I was tidying up, and yeah, they seem to have all taken. I mean, I've put them in these pots, and none of them have died. And this is one of the succulents from outside. So let me show it to you. Actually, hang on. Let's go back outside. So it's this plant. And this has been an absolute treat, because what happened, I mean, obviously it's splayed out in the middle, which isn't very nice. It's only done that since it's really properly flowered. But basically it was here for absolutely ages, just the leaves. And I thought, God, those are ugly, massive things. What are they? And then it got these flowers, but the flowers were green, you know, I think they were still closed in their little buds for absolutely ages. And I was thinking, God, it's been weeks and nothing's happening with these flowers. And then they started to open ever so slightly, and it was covered in bees and butterflies, flies, all kinds of little pollinators were all over it, like absolutely swarming with them. And I thought, okay, yeah, I'm going to propagate this and grow it everywhere. So let's go back inside. What else did I want to show you? I think that was it. Oh, the asparagus with the colder weather, it's yellowing up. But I didn't realise I really should have potted them up again. So I sowed the seeds. Can you see the root there? I sowed the seeds, then I put them out into small pots, and then I moved them from small pots into these bigger pots. I didn't think to check whether they needed to go into bigger pots again. Yeah, all of them are like that. See, they're all growing out. So I'm going to have a think about whether I leave them like this over the winter or whether I plant them into other pots, because I'm guessing those roots really want to be protected from frosts. And they will get more protection if they are in a good amount of compost rather than just bare out of the bottom of the pots like that. So yeah, all in all, happy. And with the horseradish, I've put the rest of it here. I might plant up a couple of these in smaller pots to see if they do sprout and create new plants. But there's oh, actually, Look at that. That's already got a shoot on it. So I think I'll plant that up. Perfect. That one's got a shoot on it too. Look at that. Oh, okay, good. That's 2. That'll do me. And then the rest I might clean up. The thing is, it doesn't smell very pungent, but I can't remember. It's been, you know, 3 years since I've made it. I can't remember if it smelled pungent back then. But anyway, maybe I'll clean it up and give one a nibble and see if it blows my head off. If it does, I know it's all good. All right, so I'm going to get on with this little beauty, and then I'm going to, oh, hang on, let me turn you around. And then I'm going to take you to the veg area to show you what I did yesterday. And then what else I'm going to show you? Oh, I can't remember now. It'll come to me. So I found it a struggle to get up this morning. I got bed hair and everything like that. So yeah, I'm still, you know, when the brain hasn't catch up with the intention for the day. Okay, so they're all done, nicely separated out. So this one looks lovely and healthy, but this is the one that had a lot of the dead pieces on. So I've tried to pull most of those up. Oh, see, I keep seeing more to pull off. Yeah, I've tried to pull most of them off so that I can then keep an eye on it and see whether it keeps happening, because it might actually have a disease then. So I also, while I was hair potting, I repotted these honeyberry bushes into, I don't know whether they're bushes or vines, to be honest, actually, but I repotted them into bigger pots. And there I did the horseradish. So yeah, that's all that done for now. Let's go to the veg area. Okay. God, that bit of ground I just walked over is so squelchy and boggy. I really need to figure out how to resolve that, because that's a very high traffic area. All right, so what I did was I put this black weed membrane down. Now, I have to confess, I actually hate this weed membrane, and I did resolve not to use it ever again, because they have now introduced one that's made out of, I can't remember what it's made out of, but it's some sort of plant thing, and it breaks down in 3 years. But the problem with that is that it is so much more expensive, and also I don't want it to break down. So with this black fabric, I reuse it year after year after year after year for various different things. And I thought, well, actually here there's going to be loads of places where I'm going to need to put the weed membrane down and leave it for a year so that all the grass and everything just sort of dies away, and then I've got nice soil to work with. And what I do is, if I show you here, so one of the reasons why I don't like it is because a lot of people don't actually look after theirs. So you can see how it frays. This was just me taking it off the roll, and this is supposed to be the closed, the sort of edge that's, I haven't cut it and it's already started fraying. So it's not manufactured very well. And then obviously if you cut it off the roll, then you get this fraying as well. But what I usually do, I didn't do it this time because I thought, well, it's just going to sit here for a long time. But the ones that I use regularly, as in over winter, I might cover a bed to keep the weeds off of it. I use this stuff. I go along the edges with a flame, so I'll put a candle on and I'll just run the fabric over it so that it kind of melts the edge, and then the fraying is minimal to nothing, and that's what I do with it. And if any holes form in it, because sometimes, you know, crows and whatnot do come and they peck at it, if any holes do develop, I do the same to that so it won't just keep fraying. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're responsible with it, it's good. But I've seen people at the allotments use it and they don't sort the edges out, and then it's just fraying and fraying and fraying, and it's causing a lot of just plastics, and also it's not safe because then it can get tied around birds' legs. We used to have slow worms at the allotment. They can get tangled up in it. So it's not great. And I think the manufacturing process isn't that great either. I think, what is it? There's something that's released in the manufacture of these petrochemicals. I can't remember. I'm not good at remembering detail. But anyway, the manufacturing process isn't that environmentally great either. But yeah, so all that aside, I have in fact used it because I am going to use it over and over again. It's not something that I'm going to use it once and then have to buy more to do it again. I'm going to look after this stuff. So basically, I do have more left on the roll because I need to cover this whole area. But I ran out of bricks. So I thought I'd have more than enough bricks because I was planning, I'm going to cover this area, then I'm going to cover the area over there where I want to put the polytunnel, and then I'm going to cover this, I'm going to cover that. But nope, I have run out of bricks. Now, I've realised, so the guy who used to have this place, when he dug out this pond, what he did was he just put everything around the sides of it and left it there. So I'm wondering if that's part of the reason why that bit that you walk through over there is soggy, because the water's running off over this and pooling down there. So at some point, not now because it's not urgent, well, it's not that it's not urgent, it's just that there are so many other more fun jobs to do than this. I'm going to have to take this down. I want to level it off. Ideally, I need to figure out how this fills up, because I would like to line it properly so that it's a proper pond. But I'm going to have a think about it, do a bit of research, because this area is very boggy, very wet. Like your feet sink right into it. So the last thing I really want to do is to put a liner in, and then I think it's called a hippo something. Anyway, it's where the liner pops up because you've got moisture underneath. All right, let's go over here to the existing beds. So if you've watched the other videos, Yola, and you're probably thinking to yourself, God, can't you ever make up your mind? You keep changing it. But so with these veg beds, so because there's a fence around this whole thing, and this is quite long, I decided, it's far too wide for a bed. So I'm going to, instead of having one long bed that goes all the way along here, I'm going to make paths in it so that there are sort of 4-foot beds going all the way along. But then I changed my mind and I thought, no, that's too much like hard work. I measured it and it's 6 meters across. So I thought, okay, narrow bed by the fence there, a path going all the way along, a sort of 4-foot bed here, a path down the middle, 4-foot bed here, another path, and then a, what's it called? Another narrow bed by the fence there. But I've changed my mind again because I still can't be bothered with all that. So I've decided what I'm going to do is this area I'm going to have for the squash growing area, because squash does ramble, and it's better to grow it in a wider bed. And when I was at the allotment, I had an incredibly wide, long bed for growing all the squash, because it scrambles where it likes. It doesn't care about beds and borders and paths and stuff. It's like, oh, you're not walking here because I'm growing. So that's what I'm going to do with that. So let me turn you around. So I'm going to try to weed that area over the next... The thing is, I wanted to get that area prepped so that I could grow garlic over the winter. But I don't know if I'm being too ambitious. And I was thinking to myself, I might have to be a little bit realistic. God, my eyes keep watering and just collecting guck. I'm going to have to be a bit realistic about what I will be able to achieve next year, because my husband was saying, oh, are you going to grow potatoes? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? And I was saying, probably not, because the thing is, if I put an awful lot of energy into growing all the stuff that I normally grow, it's just going to all get eaten. It's going to be really disheartening because of the amount of slugs that there are here. Now, I know this year has been a bad year for slugs because we've had a very wet spring and summer, which was ideal conditions for them. And I don't think the winter was too harsh either, so they probably more would have survived over winter than usual. But I'm guessing that next year's not going to be much different. Well, I hope it is, but this is Wales, so let's face it, it's still going to be very wet. So I think what I want to really focus on is getting the beds ready, getting the infrastructure ready, and I'll grow things that are much hard. It's not that it's harder, it's just that, like for example, salad. If you buy a bag of salad from the shop, it's £1.50, £2, sometimes they're 99p. But they come in, it's a salad bag enough for one salad, and it comes in a plastic bag. So salad is something easy that I can grow. In the veggie pod that I've got, we still have to bring it over from our old house actually. So I'm going to focus on growing the salads, and hopefully also over the winter I'm going to get the polytunnel sorted, so I'll be able to grow some tomatoes and maybe some of the chilies and the peppers that I like as well, because it's slightly easier to control the slug and snail population inside the polytunnel than it is out on open ground. She says. That could be completely untrue. I've never had to deal with this many slugs before. So yeah, I'm going to probably leave it there for today, and I will catch you again next time. I'm going to, for the rest of the day, probably go back into the open barn. In the last video, I was trying to sort that area out. So I think I'm going to start tackling the opposite corner where all the logs and the wood and the twigs and stuff are, and see whether there is actually proper usable firewood in there, because my husband keeps going on about he wants us, so the fire that's in the living room, the wood burner, is not it's not really functional. The lining needs replacing, and even the wood burner probably needs replacing. We had a quote for it, and it was quite expensive. It was £1,400. Plus, on top of that, we would have to buy the wood burner, which is a good few hundred more. And he was saying, "Oh, come on, let's just do it." I was saying, well, we don't actually have enough firewood this year to warrant spending the money now. I'd much prefer to spend that on my fruit trees, I can tell you. Anyway. So, yeah, I need to get to grips with what firewood we do have, because we do have quite a big wood burner in the kitchen. So I want to know how much wood we will have to maybe light that every now and again. So yeah, I'll catch you next time. All right.